Welcome back to another edition of the Draft Geeks podcast. Hopefully you guys have a Merry Christmas. Today we're bringing you a little bit of a Christmas episode. We're going to go 1 through 15 in the current NFL draft order. We're going to do a little bit of a mini mock, and we're also going to talk about one Christmas wish for each team after we make a draft selection for them. So hopefully you guys are ready because the Draft Geeks podcast starts right now.
Welcome into another episode of the Draft Geeks podcast, everybody. I'm Max Showstack over at the Draft Geek here alongside Jace Campbell at Pat's Drive before the holidays for, as Jace touched on, a Christmas wish list episode. We'll be mocking the top 15 teams, most of which are currently eliminated from the NFL playoffs. We're recording this prior to the Colts 49ers Monday Night Football game, but it's pretty clear the Colts will probably be out. The Niners have clinched, and we'll run through every single pick, who we think they'll take at this point in time, and maybe what the dream is for every single team who's officially been able to turn the calendar from the NFL season to draft season. Jace, how are you doing, man?
I'm doing good. I'm excited. This will be fun. Hopefully you guys have a good Christmas, spending time with family, and this will be a little bit of a festive episode, I guess. And, kind of we'll see how it goes. We'll see how it goes. It was kind of an idea, mini mock, and then talking about if we were the fans or we were the, rooting for these teams, what we would be wishing for Santa to bring for all these teams under the Christmas tree. So I'm excited. I can't believe it's almost here. You're starting to get teams mathematically eliminated. The playoffs are starting up here soon. And so it's pretty much draft season in full effect. And I couldn't be happier.
Me neither. For those of you guys who aren't aware, Jace's Patriots just put my Ravens on life support. So I had to lobby for 5 minutes to make sure we can get the Ravens in this episode.
They delivered my Christmas wish. That was my wish, is the Patriots in the playoffs, and they got it. So
wish for a wish, because mine's over. So we'll touch on the Ravens, who are our one team, I think, in this top 15 that is still has a lifeline if Shedeur Sanders and the Browns beat the Steelers, but that's unlikely. So we'll be going through the, if you're on YouTube, the PFF Mock Draft Simulator. And while you're over there, you can make sure you're subscribed, or if you're on Spotify, make sure you're subscribing there. But we'll run through. The Giants are at the top. Jace is going to kick us off with the odds, and I'll let Jace run through who his pick would be at this point in time. We're going to avoid doing a trade, although I'll let you take it from there, because that might just be the wish.
Yeah. We'll avoid doing trades, guys. If the Giants end up with this pick, we all know it's probably going to get traded. So I'll start off with the Giants, Christmas wish that Santa brings them. And it's a haul of a trade package. That is exactly what it is. It's multiple future firsts, whether it's from the Jets, it's current picks in both this first round and second round. And so you're looking, as a Giants fan, if you're sitting here at the number 1 overall pick and you're like, hey, Santa, what do you, I want in the draft? It's a haul for the number 1 overall pick, hoping a team trades up and gets a quarterback. Now, that's not going to happen in this mock draft. So for me, I'm going to take who I believe is the best player available. And it's hard because I don't think that they really need this position, but you need a player like this on your team. And that's going to be Arvell Reese, the linebacker out of Ohio State. Probably the best player on the board. We'll continue to see him as they progress through the college football playoff. There's a lot of versatile dudes on that defensive line and the edge rusher. And so we'll see. It would be fun to see him and Abdul Carter. Maybe this means they could move on from Kayvon Thibodeau, which they probably would in this case, and get another pick, whether it's in the second or third. But that would be my pick right now if they were to stick and pick at the number 1 overall selection.
Would you play him at edge, or allow the Giants' edge depth to make him be a versatile option between edge and linebacker, which is where he currently plays for the Buckeyes?
Yeah, I'd probably keep him in the role he is with Ohio State right now. If you do move on from Kayvon Thibodeau, you can explore moving him up. But I would probably just keep him at the linebacker spot. I think it opens up so many opportunities and so much scheme versatility when you have a guy like Arvell Reese that can play both off the ball and get on the edge and rush the passer. So I would keep him at pretty much the exact role that they're using him at.
I'm with you. I think he's too good of a run defender to just erase that that linebacker, all those linebacker snaps from his repertoire. They have Brian Burns in there too, and I think adding a linebacker in Arvell Reese, who could be a trade down target for them if they are to move down from this pick, wouldn't be a bad move for the Giants. And maybe they'll have a new GM on their wish list as well, making this pick. So we'll see what happens there. I've got the Raiders at number 2. This is pretty easy, and I think it aligns with my wish list. I think the wish is you go up and you trade up to number 1 and you go get a quarterback, because the Geno Smith era looks like it's going to start and end pretty quickly. Another option for the Raiders, if they're unable to pull the trigger on getting a quarterback, is to add an offensive lineman. I think maybe that's something they can address in free agency, address later on in the draft. They can help out Ashton Genty, who they made a significant investment in last draft. But for now, I think when we're talking wish lists, the top of the list for the Raiders has to be to go get their franchise quarterback. If the Giants stick and pick at number 1, that opens the door for the Raiders. If they lose to the Giants, that opens the door for the Raiders to have this pick. And if somebody trades up for Dante Moore instead of Fernando Mendoza, the Raiders will still be able to take the Heisman Trophy winner. I'll take Fernando Mendoza here, combining my wish list and my current mock pick, getting the Raiders their franchise quarterback.
Yeah, Geno Smith is not the answer there. And Pete Carroll probably has to make a move, or else it might be him that's getting fired, sometime midpoint next year. Do you believe the rumors that they could move on from him this year?
I think I'd like to see him have one more season.
I would too. Yeah, that I don't think that that's the right move for the Raiders and stuff. Give him a young quarterback, see what he can do, develop him. And so I agree. Giving him Fernando Mendoza, the Heisman Trophy winner, potentially a national champion. We'll find that out here in a couple weeks. But this would be ideal for the Raiders, hoping a team doesn't jump them. Like we said, the Giants will probably explore every option to trade down here and get off of that number 1 overall pick, because they know they can get so much draft capital for that pick, because someone will want to go up and get their guy. So for the Cleveland Browns, for me, my wish for them for Christmas, and if I was a Browns fan, is that Shedeur Sanders is the truth, that what you've seen from him is not discouraging, and what you've seen from him is also showing that he has room to grow. And for me, if that's the case, you got to protect him and you got to give him a weapon. And right now, if I'm going to give him a weapon, I'm giving him Carnell Tate Jr. So for me to bring my wish to life for the Browns is you got to surround him with people that can help him succeed, help you find out if he is the guy. I think Carnell Tate's moved to my number 1 receiver. I'm sure we'll get into some of those position rankings soon, but that's who I would take here if I was the Cleveland Browns.
And they have 2 picks. So to everybody that's, they need an offensive lineman. We all know that. There's just not really one. I would take at 3 with the receiver talent that's available. They can get a receiver later on. That pick's looking like it's getting later and later, because it's Jacksonville's. We all kind of thought it would be in the top 15, might be late 20s now, but they will still have a chance to add to that O-line room. Tate's moved in to kind of my 1A, 1B slot. I think Jordan Tyson might have more talent, but I'm really concerned about his ability to stay on the field. So Carnell Tate to the Browns would be awesome. Adding another weapon to Shedeur Sanders' arsenal, if you will. Harold Fannin, Carnell Tate. I think they move on from Jerry Jeudy, and then Cedric Tillman across from Tate would be awesome. I also think Isaiah Bond might start to get some more usage in that offense, so we'll see. But I really do like that wish list. And you are hoping Shedeur's the truth. You're hoping you don't have to dig back into the quarterback well if you're the Browns. The Jets, number 4. I got the same wish as the Raiders. It's please, let's go get a quarterback. The Jets have a more of an interesting spot because they have 3 picks in the 2027 first round. So do they want to wait? Do they want to go get one now? How much would they be willing to give up to go get a quarterback? How much will a potential trade partner be asking from them, knowing they can milk the hell out of all the picks the Jets have? Right now, as it stands, I'll say Dante Moore's in this draft, and that's who I would go pick if I was the Jets. I really like Dante Moore. I want to see him be able to handle more pressure. I think when Indiana gave him a ton of pressure in that game in Eugene this season, he was flustered a little bit. We'll see how he does against Texas Tech. That's a huge test against a great defense. But right now I have Dante Moore going across the country to be the Jets franchise quarterback. And my wish list for the Jets would be to check that franchise quarterback box that they haven't checked in a long time.
Yeah, and I like that pick there. Dante Moore is going to continue to rise up draft boards. And I think with his young age and kind of, even though he's been in college for 4 years, he started as a true freshman, sat most of the year last year. And then you're seeing towards the end of the year, he's becoming a really solid player. And so I think someone will take a chance. It kind of screws me because as the Cardinals, my wish list was to trade Kyler Murray. And I think that that's realistic. But right now, I'm not taking Ty Simpson right here. There's no one else I'm really reaching for. And so if you do move off of Kyler Murray, which I think it's probably time to do, what are you getting? Are you trading with a team that's, somewhere down on this list? Like maybe you trade him to the Dolphins. Maybe you trade him right here and you can acquire the 10th overall pick. I don't know if that's what his value would be and stuff, but my wish list would be to trade Kyler Murray. Now, maybe you're just saying, hey, we're going to trade him and then go for another top pick next year or get a 2027 first. And now we have 2 picks next year. So on my wish list, it's that Santa packs up his little elf and takes him back to the North Pole. That's really messed up, but that's my wish.
Incredible.
That's my wish, is that he does that. And then if that were to be the point, I would start building the offensive line around whoever is going to be that quarterback. Now, they have a great left tackle in Paris Johnson Jr., but they need a right tackle. And for me, I don't know exactly who I would go with because I think Maui Goa is more of a guard, but the right tackle for me that I think makes the most sense, that's played there most of his career, is Spencer Fano. Might be a little bit of a reach. We'll see how he tests and how, kind of he ends the draft cycle. But that would really be the only guy right here that I would say, hey, I want to bump him or I want to keep him at right tackle for his time. And even then, he might be a guard. Like he might slide into guard also. So that would be the only guy that I would say I feel comfortable taking at pick 5 if I'm looking to protect whoever is the future at quarterback for the Arizona Cardinals.
I think Francis Mauigoa and Spencer Fano are both top 15 players in this draft class, and they need to protect. I think it should be Jacoby Brissett next year, and then whoever they want to have as their franchise quarterback moving forward. That's how you're going to get the ball to your playmakers, Trey McBride, Michael Wilson, Marvin Harrison Jr. That's how you're going to make room for James Conner if he's able to come back healthy next year. Same with Trey Benson. I think Jeremiah Love is an option at this pick, but I think you just watched what the Raiders did with Ashton Genty, throwing him behind a garbage offensive line. And while Genty's flashed and looked great, they're not winning football games. And I think the goal is for the Cardinals not to make the playoffs and not to luck into winning a division in a potential down year. It's to go win the Super Bowl. And I think if you want to go win the Super Bowl, whether it's 3-4 years down the road, that starts in the trenches. I think Fano would be great for the Cardinals. I mocked him to the Cardinals at 6 in my mock last week. So, Jace, we're on the same page.
That's good.
Tennessee Titans. They've won their way to the 6th overall pick. This was kind of where maybe I saw them trading down to once upon a time when they had the 1st overall pick. My wish list is to help Cam Ward. And maybe that's not something we're going to address right here at the 6th overall pick. Maybe it is. We'll see. I'm kind of going to have to talk through the board when I make this pick. But overall, I think the goal has to be helping Cam Ward, whether that's through free agency, getting him better offensive linemen, getting him a veteran weapon, because right now all they're dealing with is rookies in the receiver room, rookies and Calvin Ridley and Van Jefferson. And those aren't fantastic options. I like the steps that Shamir Dike has taken. He might be an first-team All-Pro special teamer. Elikai Omanor's shown flashes, so is Gunnar Helm. I think they need to get some veteran help around him in the receiver room and on the offensive line. The Titans also need defense, though. This is a really bad football team, and I think through the draft, they have 2 options. They can build through best player available. I think Caleb Downs would be a good option for them, but I do think that they have some safeties in that room. Kevin Winston Jr. has been a good rookie for them. I'm not the world's biggest Ruben Bain Jr. fan. I do think that he's a top 15 player in this draft. The 6th overall pick, I think teams will have mixed feelings about that. But currently, I think I would take him over Jeremiah Love, obviously, and Caleb Downs. I think for me, it's between Jordan Tyson and Ruben Bain. Do you want to add another young wide receiver to that room that's already very young, or do you want to go address the edge? I think you got to prioritize helping out your rookie quarterback immediately. And I think I would go take Jordan Tyson here at number 6. I think the goal for the offseason is to get Cam Ward help. And if that's the overall goal and there's an option that fits that criteria in the first round, I would take Tyson at 6 over a guy like Bane.
Well, that kind of screws me. I love the pick there.
That's
My
the second
wish.
time you've said that.
You're reading my mind. You're reading my mind.
I
my
left
wish
you with
for the-
options. You have options here.
I
but
do, and
yeah.
I know where I'm going already. But my wish for the Commanders right here would be bubble wrap for Jaden Daniels, so he
Yeah.
can stay healthy. But that was my point, is they're losing Deebo Samuel. He's going to the open market. Terry McLaurin just signed this huge extension, but he kind of has been a little bit disappointing this year.
And he's been hurt.
Exactly. And so I was leaning towards Jordan Tyson so that you have another weapon there, especially with losing DK. The other part of me that knows exactly where I'm going here is I am a big Ruben Bain fan. I think he's tremendous. I think he's going to be a great edge rusher. And I do think Washington needs to add more on the defense side of the ball, especially with Dan Quinn being the head coach. He wants to address that. So I'm going to go with Ruben Bain Jr. for the Commanders. But their number one wish has got to be somehow, some way, Jaden Daniels to stay healthy, because that team is not the same as we can see right now with him getting hurt. And that was everyone's concern as he was coming out of college.
Did you consider Jeremiah Love at all?
Not really, because I do still think that they have Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt, and if Eckler is able to come back, I know he has age issues, but I don't think that this would be a spot for them to take a running back.
Yeah, I think they have too much to work on as a team from a roster building standpoint. They have to get younger. Ruben Bain, or I think Caleb Downs would have gone a long way and will go a long way to helping out the Washington Commanders. The Saints, first of all, we got to shout out Tyler Shuck at the top here.
Yes, we do.
Listen, I think the Saints are in a good spot. The quarterback room has come together really well. Their second round pick has given them starter return, and their fifth round pick from years before has given them enough to be a backup quarterback behind a quarterback in Tyler Shuck, who's been hurt year after year through college. So I think they're in a very steady spot. They've got Shuck, who's performed really well, has struggled with injuries in the past, and I think Spencer Rattler and Taysom Hill's availability gives them options behind Shuck. So the quarterback room looks great. Haven't been able to say that about the Saints in a long time. I think receiver is the glaring need here. Chris Olave just went for 150 and 2 touchdowns and took me to a fantasy championship appearance. Hopefully he can help.
Oh, that's another L Max took this week, is he lost to me in fantasy. So
I scored 180 and lost to Jace because Jace predicted that after week after week of Colby Parkinson dominating, he's like, I'm going to start Terrence Ferguson. And then Ferguson scores, gets called back, and on the next drive, scores for real.
Well, I thought I was screwed because I told you my thought process was that maybe Colby Parkinson was just going to get keyed on by Seattle. And so I was like, let's just, but then as soon as that touchdown got called back, I said, I overthought this. He ain't going to have nothing else after this. Then he scored again. I'm like, oh my gosh, wow, I got lucky right there. So
Unbelievable. So I think back to the Saints. I think the goal's got to be to help Tyler Shuck, but in the same way that I talked about that with Cam Ward, I don't think it has to happen. I don't think it necessarily has to happen right away. I don't think Mekhi Lemon comes into this offense and is such a difference maker across from Chris Olave. I think maybe they look for a different archetype of receiver. But that'll be the goal for the offense. Just like you talked about, Jaden Daniels, got to help him out, then went in a different direction on the defensive side of the ball. That's what I'm going to do with the Saints. I think the wish list has to be helping Tyler Shuck through the offseason, but I'm going to take Keldrick Falk here to bolster that defensive line for the Saints. Better run defense. I think Chase Young has taken some strides. Cam Jordan won't be there forever. And I really like Keldrick Falk. He's my second edge rusher in this class. David Bailey's a better pass rusher than him. So if that's exclusively what you need, I would take Bailey in this spot. But I think the Saints just need somebody that can be the calling card for this defensive line for a long time. And Keldrick Falk, I think, has that written all over him. Helps the Saints defense out immediately. And I would have loved if you didn't take Ruben Bain, but you did.
Well, I'm glad I finally got you on one.
You got you on.
No, I love Keldrick Falk. Were you at all considering Peter Woods? I mean, I know they've taken many interior D-line guys in the past, but
I did. And part of that is because I wanted to help the run defense out. And I think Keldrick Falk kind of made the most sense to me because he can play on the edge. He can rush the passer, but he specializes in run defense. So if Falk was gone, I would have taken, like, let's say you took, I don't know, I would take Bane because he's a better pass rusher, but like I would take Peter Woods over David Bailey, if that makes sense.
Yep. No, that totally makes sense. So for the Cincinnati Bengals here, my wish for them would be to stop a nosebleed. And what I mean by that is to be able to stop anyone on offense. And for me, this board falls perfect for them. They need best player available. There's no doubt in my mind that they look right here and go, Caleb Downs, and run that pick to the podium and take him. Shamar Stewart hopefully continues to develop, but between Shamar Stewart and Caleb Downs, the upside of those two guys on their defense is tremendous, and it would help them get back to maybe the playoffs. Now, obviously, Joe Burrow being healthy is going to be a huge indicator for that, but I think if you can get Caleb Downs in Cincinnati at pick 9, you have the firepower on offense. You just need a couple more playmakers on the defensive side, plus you're going to lose Trey Hendrickson most likely. So I was considering like a David Bailey or a Peter Woods, but with Shamar Stewart, I was like, let's just take Caleb Downs. You already got a guy last year. It was this huge ordeal because he almost didn't even play for you guys, but now he is. So Caleb Downs almost is a no-brainer for me for the Cincinnati Bengals at pick 9.
I love it. It would have been between Caleb Downs, Ohio State, and Peter Woods, the D tackle from Clemson, in that spot. And Downs is the higher ranked player on my board, so it makes a lot of sense. The Dolphins come up here at 10. Jace, this is the first time for me that I've kind of looked at this pick in a mock draft since the Tua benching.
Yes.
This will be a pick made by a new general manager. And I don't think that new general manager is going to come in and say, Ty Simpson's my guy. I think we need to see a little bit more from Ty Simpson. He's had such an up and down season, and I'm not certain he even is a part of this quarterback class. I think Dante Moore's put together a better body of work, but we may see neither of them in this draft. We may see both. Quarterback aside, I think this team needs a lot of help at receiver, but I kind of like Malik Washington and Jalen Waddle enough. It's going to be an identity process for this general manager. Once we see who that is, we'll have a better idea. Is Mike McDaniel here? Who knows? I think he kind of won some games to maybe save his job. We'll see how much the new regime tries to erase that whole Mike McDaniel system. Speed's all we have. That's kind of where the Dolphins are right now. All of that aside, my wish list for the Miami Dolphins is to get some direction. It feels like for the past couple of years, this team's been flailing. They've just been prioritizing speed. They've been putting together a roster that is worthy of making the wild card round, and that's about it. I think they, like the Arizona Cardinals, kind of need to change gears, build towards the future. And when I see the Dolphins, I think their biggest need, especially in a division with now Dante Moore, Drake May, and Josh Allen, I think they got to get help at the cornerback position. Jace, who's your top corner?
I was actually just looking at that because
loaded question because I'm debating Jermod McCoy's injury.
That's exactly what I was going to say. It's no doubt Jermod McCoy. Once I see him test and see if he's, where he was for 2024. For me right now, I think the guy that's played the best and the one that I'm, the most attracted to is Mansour Delane, but there's also question marks there. I don't know cornerback 1 is still so it's up for grabs. There's so much testing that I want to see. There's if Jermod McCoy is still healthy. I do like your guy from South Carolina and Brandon Cisse. I don't know. I don't have a true corner 1 right now. I want it to be McCoy, but you can't put him as corner number 1 with his injury and not seeing him at all this year.
So I'll walk you through this. My corner 1 is Mansour Delane right now. I think he put together an amazing season. I think he is such an intelligent corner. He's always in the right spot, can play man zone, specializes in off coverage, but I don't mind him in press. What this comes down to me is this is a pick made by a new general manager. This is his first draft pick, and I don't see him taking a guy that did not play at all in his final season of college football. So if that is the tiebreaker you need, I would take Mansour Delane. That's kind of what I think the Dolphins do here. And they just had Jalen Phillips get traded away, a guy that struggled with injuries. Maybe the new GM looks at the pass regime and says, I'll pass. But Dolphins got to get some direction. I think Mansour Delane's the best player available at a position of need.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I don't think that you can justify taking Jermod McCoy especially if his numbers don't test out, right? If that's all that stuff comes back and it's not, he's going to have a Will Johnson type of fall last year
Or a Derek Stingley type of rise if he tests very well off an injury.
Could easily still be a top 10 pick with all that stuff coming off of injury. So the Rams at pick 11, their wish list is to be Super Bowl champs and pick this high. Thank you to the Atlanta Falcons. This should be the Atlanta Falcons pick right here. But they made the trade to go up and get who'd they trade up to get? So they got Jalen Walker Jr. and then it was James Pierce. Yep. So
I'll let you touch on the Falcons for like if you want to do a 10-15 second run. Not give them a pick, but be like, what's the wish list? Is the wish list the Kevin Costner movie? I want my picks back.
Yeah, that's exactly what there is. Their wish list right now, they are hoping and praying to Santa that they can somehow get extra picks for this year because they're like, what the heck is going on? If I was them,
bubble wrap for Penix.
Well, that's been bubble wrap for Penix has been since his second injury at Indiana.
We don't even need to get started with that, but
he might need a glass box. Bubble wrap is too unsafe for even him, I think. Like he's still
plexiglass.
Yeah, plexiglass, so nothing can get in. No, the Falcons are in a bad situation. They got two great players last year, but when you're sitting here looking at this and you're like, gosh, after the Penix injury, now they might have a top 10 pick. It's a little scary for them. So, but for the Rams, for me, if they're Super Bowl champs, which they very well could be, Matthew Stafford's playing at an MVP level, plus he's getting up there in age. You still have to protect him. I think they need a right tackle. So for me, the next best right tackle is Francis Malioga. If I'm taking him, you can play him at guard or tackle, but in this case, you're just keeping him out at tackle until you figure out what else you can do with him, or until you need to move on from Stafford, and maybe that puts the whole team in a whole rebuild there. But I'm giving Stafford a little bit more protection to maybe make a second run at a Super Bowl in 2027.
Love that pick. I think the only other option is maybe if they can somehow reassign this pick, if they can trade out of this spot and just make it a 2027 first rounder, and see if they can push the Stafford replacement timeline back 1 year. But I love that move. Get another guy across from Alaric Jackson, who they just paid. The Chiefs wish list planned out very nice.
Yes, it did.
Chiefs wish list is surgeries go well and Jeremiah Love falls. And Jeremiah Love is available, and that will be the Chiefs running back for the next 4 to 5 to 10 years. Kenyon Sadiq is an option because of Travis Kelce's career coming to a close. But Jeremiah Love, I think, is a much better player than Kenyon Sadiq, independent of their positions and positional value. And Jeremiah Love can help take the Chiefs back to the promised land real quick.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy how this stuff works out, how Patrick Mahomes gets hurt. They're going to find a pick that's just going to be absolutely incredible for them. Last time this happened, you're looking at it, and it was the Bengals when Joe Burrow gets hurt his rookie year, and then they end up with Jamar Chase, and you're just like, how does stuff like this happen to them?
Or
like,
the 49ers when Jimmy G got hurt and they ended up with Nick Bosa. I think my timeline's right there.
How do things happen how do good things like this happen to these guys? It's crazy. So for me,
it's the Ravens' turn.
No, it's the Cowboys.
No, I mean, it's the Ravens' turn to lose their way into a pick that they're too good to have.
They might be doing that. Maybe that's what they're doing right now.
That's my best explanation for the back injury.
For me, the Cowboys, I kind of have two wishes for them. One of them's for real, one of them's a troll. I'll go with the for real one. The for real one is to replace Micah Parsons and get some pressure on the quarterback. The troll one is that it's actually their year in 2026. And I think all fans know that it's probably not going to be their year. But the way to get back to the good defense and, replacing Micah Parsons, in my opinion, is taking probably the best edge rusher in college football this year and one of the most productive ones we've seen in a while, and that's David Bailey. Keep him in Texas, go from Texas Tech to the Dallas Cowboys. And so I'm going to replace Micah Parsons with this pick. And they do have another first-round pick, right? It's the Packers.
They do.
The Packers.
Yes, Packers.
So they'll have another, option down, lower, which we won't get to today. But still, David Bailey, great edge rusher. Get him there because they had one QB hit against JJ McCarthy last week. And, this
Justin
week.
Herbert?
No, against the Vikings on Sunday Night Football last week. They only had one QB pressure.
That game
one.
Yeah.
One QB pressure the whole entire game. So, yeah.
Unbelievable. I love it. They need to do that. They need to get pressure on the quarterback. You took my pick again for the Ravens this time. I think the Ravens I have two wishes for the Ravens because I'm a Ravens fan. I'm going to bend the rules a little bit. They need to get pressure on the quarterback and they need to protect their own quarterback and specifically replace Daniel Falele, the right guard for the Baltimore Ravens. I think if Francis Mauigoa is available, that's the easy pick here. He'd be a plug and play type of guy. David Bailey available would be amazing. I'm going to pass on Peter Woods here because they did extend Travis Jones. I know Justin Madubuike's future is up in the air. Nnamdi Madubuike's future is up in the air. But I don't think they'll extend Travis Jones to the contract they did and then address the same position at the 14th pick. I'm going to take what might be a little bit of a reach, but I think it's an instant starter for the Baltimore Ravens, and that's Penn State's Olaivavega-Ioane, the offensive guard and my top-ranked true guard in this draft class. I think he's an instant starter for Baltimore and somebody that hopefully can keep Lamar Jackson off of the injury report.
No, I love it. I think that, man, just watching that game last night, Tyler Linderbaum is such a good center in
and
the
he
NFL.
has to do way too much.
Exactly.
And the Ravens have a
3
3-man offensive line.
If you give someone next to him, like, they're going to be so good. And so giving him a running mate that can be a bully in the run game and help in the pass game. Linderbaum was incredible how they can use him because he can pull, how athletic he is. Yeah. So if you can get Vega-Ioane, I'm not even going to try to say his whole name like you did. That was impressive. But I'll end it there. The Vikings will be the last team we'll talk about just because they're the only ones that are technically mathematically, geez, that's a hard word, eliminated. It might be harder, honestly.
Mathematically.
And their wish right here is that Jermod McCoy is healthy, that he passes all of his tests, because if they can get Jermod McCoy, in my opinion, right here at pick 15, that is a steal. Like, he might fall further down the board because of his injuries, but if they have a chance to get him and they feel comfortable with how he tested, how all the medicals look, I think this is a great pick for the Minnesota Vikings at pick 15. So for me, their wish in this exact scenario is that Jermod McCoy passes everything, he doesn't have any concerns, and that they're able to get what, in my opinion, could be a top 10 pick at pick 15 just because of a couple injuries.
And I think the wish is that 9 develops a little bit more, helping the Vikings ascend in what's a very tough division.
Always. So we'll have to, I'm just going to pick random people here so that we can get to the end and watch it. CJ Allen, congrats. Colton Hood, you're a member of the Cleveland Browns. All right, let's go through. So we only did 1 through 15. So you want to just read them off for us and hit on just the picks that we made for the teams that are eliminated from the playoffs.
Yeah, just going 1 through 15 if you're watching on YouTube, ignoring that right side. It was Arvell Reese, the Ohio State linebacker to the Giants, Fernando Mendoza, the quarterback from Indiana to the Raiders, Carnell Tate, the receiver from Ohio State to the Browns, Dante Moore, the corner from Oregon to the Jets, Spencer Fano, the tackle from Utah to the Cardinals, Jordan Tyson, the receiver from ASU to the Titans, Jordan Titan. Reuben Bain Jr., the edge rusher from Miami to the Commanders, Keldrick Falk, the edge rusher from Auburn to the Saints, Caleb Downs, Ohio State safety to the Bengals, Mansour Delane, the corner from LSU to Miami, Francis Mauigoa, the tackle from college Miami to the LA Rams, Jeremiah Love, the running back from Notre Dame to the Chiefs. David Bailey, the edge rusher from Texas Tech to the Cowboys, Olaivavega-Ioane, the guard from Penn State to the Ravens, and Jermod McCoy, the corner from Tennessee to the Minnesota Vikings. Jace, you got anything before we wrap this mini mock up?
I do. I'm going to put you on the spot real quick and talk about it.
Put me on the spot.
I want us to pick the final or the rest of the college football playoff bracket, and we can go really quick, but I want to do it right here.
I love it. We'll go game by game. Okay. We'll go pick by pick.
Let's do it.
I'll think out loud for this first one. I do have kind of begrudgingly, my brain tells me no, but I just want to pick Texas Tech to beat Oregon. I think that defense might be too good. Watched a lot of Dante Moore this weekend. And as the pressure from Indiana built in that game, he started to get flustered. I think if Texas Tech can follow the same game plan, the fact that it's on a neutral site will be huge. I'll take Texas Tech. And then I'll take Ohio State to beat Miami, take Indiana over Alabama. I'll take Georgia over Ole Miss. And then do you want to do your round, or you want me to
Yep.
go all the way through?
I'm gonna be the exact same as you, except I'm taking Oregon.
Okay. I feel
I
good
have
that we're on either side.
Yeah, I have Oregon beating Texas Tech, and I think that's going to be the best game. Obviously, it's the 4-5 matchup, but I think that is fireworks. That game's going to be so fun right there. Like I'm super excited for that one. And then I agree with you, Indiana over Alabama, the Kirk Cignetti revenge game. Alabama never gave him a chance to be a position or a coordinator or whatever, so he's got some work there. Georgia's too good for Ole Miss, and then Ohio State will probably take care of Miami. So. Now, if I'm moving on, who's going to win? I'm going off the bracket I filled out, and I'm a firm believer that Oregon is one of the best teams in the country. They just had to play Indiana, and now they get them again, round 2, and I think they beat them. I have Oregon beating Indiana, and I think it's very hard to go undefeated in college football nowadays.
It is.
And Indiana hasn't lost yet. And so I'm going to go with Oregon beating them, and then I have Georgia beating Ohio State. So 2 kind of upset. So my national championship would be Oregon versus Georgia.
Who wins that game?
I have Oregon.
That was my national championship last year, my prediction.
Okay.
And those teams went nowhere.
Yeah.
Neither won a game in the CFP last year. For me, kind of the same logic as you. Indiana just dropped 13 against Ohio State. The best defense in the country. Now, I think gets Texas Tech, second best defense in the country. Maybe they score 16, 17. I think Texas Tech might be able to score 20. I've got Texas Tech over Indiana. Again, another pick. My heart is like, yes, do it. And my brain is like, it might be Oregon, Indiana. But I've got Texas Tech beating Indiana, and then I've got Ohio State clipping Georgia and Texas Tech en route to back-to-back national championships, keeping the streak alive that every time the playoff format changes, they win the national championship.
Yeah. I think for me, the reason that I can't be high on Ohio State is I just don't believe in Julian Sayin. I
know what you mean. And I believe in him in the way that I think he could be a first-round pick next year. But right now, like for a college football playoff game against the Dogs, and then we saw it against Indiana.
Yeah.
I'm not confident that if they play again, Ohio State wins just based on the law that it's tough to beat a team twice.
Yeah.
Like I think Indiana could just beat them twice.
Yeah. I think Indiana's, I don't know. I just have a hard time thinking that like Georgia's going to make life so hard on Julian Sayin. And those receivers are going to help Julian Sayin, but they're going to blitz him and they're going to be in his face and they're going to just make it hard. And I don't know. The only game I missed in the first round was I had A&M over Florida, and I fought that, or over Miami, sorry. And I fought that one because I didn't believe in Marcel Reed. And when it came down to it, he folded. And that was at home. And so I don't know. I'm having the same thing about Ohio State right now. Sitting here thinking like, I just don't believe in Julian Sayin. And you have to have a great quarterback to win the college football playoff. Last year, Will Howard, he was a great quarterback in college.
Yeah.
And so when I'm looking at it, like Fernando Mendoza has a chance to lead Indiana. I think Dante Moore has a chance to lead Oregon. If Ty Simpson gets hot, I think that there's a chance, but he's one.
Baron Morton.
Baron Morton,
feel unsettled.
Yeah,
what's the pick you feel the worst about?
You're talking about like winning?
The pick, so we've made our picks. Which one do you look at and you're like, but I don't know?
Oh, Oregon over Indiana.
Okay. Mine is Texas Tech over Oregon.
Okay.
But also I feel gross about having Indiana be a one and done.
I feel
not
really
one and done, just winning one game.
I feel really gross also hating on, it's not hate on Indiana, but I feel like I'm not giving them the respect they deserve.
Yeah.
But that's where I stand, is like picking Oregon to go and beat them after they lost to them. I don't know. I have a hard time with that one. But that's just how I feel. So I don't know. I can definitely see Indiana beating them for a second time. But yeah.
I love it. Flash mock and a flash bracket there for you guys. That'll wrap
I had to
up.
ask. I had to see.
Yeah. No, it's perfect. I love it. You've got Georgia. I've got Ohio State repeating.
I have Oregon.
You have Oregon.
I have Oregon beating
Ohio
Georgia.
State repeating. Big Ten winning the Natties for both of us. That wraps up this flash mock and flash bracket, mini mock, if you will, with some Christmas lists intertwined in there. That wraps up that episode. If you're on YouTube, let us know your wish list if your NFL team sucks. and you want a new player, how do you want them to revamp through the draft? Or if you're a Falcons fan, how do you want them to revamp through the second round and free agency? Let us know. We'd love to hear from you guys. Thank you guys so much for listening. For Jace Campbell, I'm Max Shostak. We'll see you guys next time.